Hello there, Attorney Andrew Bethel of the Bethel Law Corporation. Generally, we find that while people do know that there are some protections of your assets, should you find yourself in bankruptcy or some type of creditor trouble in general, they are typically unsure as to their options and exactly what is or can be protected. Now, one of the most important protections is the Homestead Exemption. While the rules for homestead exemptions vary by state, here in California, we recently had an increase in that exemption limit thanks to California Assembly Bill 1885, and that was back in 2020. And that brought us up to between $300,000 and $600,000 for that limit. The actual amount will equal the prior year's median home sale price amount if it is within that range. So to put it simply, the minimum exemption is $300,000 and the maximum is $600,000. But your particular exemption limit will be the median, not the average, home sale price from the prior year for your county. Additionally, these figures will be tied to inflation and adjusted annually beginning January 1st, 2022. However, these numbers, which at the time of recording have not yet been released for the year of 2021 by the Department of Industrial Relations here in California. For some examples though, in September of 2020, the median home sales price in Los Angeles County was approximately $677,000. That means that everyone in Los Angeles County qualified for the maximum homestead exemption of $600,000. Now contrast that with Riverside County, whose median home sale price was around $490,000. That meant that Riverside County residents would have only qualified for an exemption of $490,000. So in case you are unaware, a homestead exemption protects home equity from a homeowner's creditors up to a certain dollar amount, which, as previously mentioned, is between that $300,000 and $600,000 range. This means that creditors are precluded from collecting funds within this amount to settle past due debt. This protection applies if you were to file for bankruptcy or experience financial troubles stemming from something like a divorce or some judgments, or the death of a spouse, and can even cover some property tax troubles. To be clear, the homestead exemption is on one's principal residence, not a second home or commercial property. And by default, it does not prohibit the sale of property. However, if the equity you have in your home is lower or equal to your homestead exemption, then your home is fully protected from creditors. At that point, a creditor cannot force the sale of your property. However, if your home equity is higher than your exemption, then you may still be subject to a forced sale. And from those sales proceeds, you would still receive your exemption limit, but any funds collected from the sale over that would go towards satisfying debts such as the mortgage, any liens on the property, any overdue property taxes, etc. Now, in case you're wondering how you can ensure a homestead exemption applies to your home, you should know that there are two types. First is automatic, and the other is a declared homestead exemption. Now, a homestead exemption is automatically applied to your residence, but only upon the forced sale of the property. It requires you to continually reside in the property throughout that process as well, and otherwise you would end up losing that exemption. And then also keep in mind that the burden of proving the exemption should apply automatically is actually on you. By contrast, a declared homestead exemption, it applies to both forced and voluntary sales of the property. Exempt proceeds from a voluntary sale are protected if another home is purchased within 6 months. You do have to actually reside in the property on the date the exemption is declared, which is recording an exemption with the county recorder. And also the burden of proof showing the exemption is invalid is actually on the creditor at that point. Now keep in mind there are some details and requirements for your particular circumstances, but we'll end up covering those in a later video. For now, keep one more thing in mind. Homestead exemptions are state specific and thus vary from state to state, and will need to bend to the whims of federal law under our Constitution's Supremacy Clause. So, of course, be sure to at least make certain that Uncle Sam is paid. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and ring the little bell to stay up to date. Otherwise, we'll see you again soon.